Hi fam, and welcome to this YouTube video. We're going to be talking about how God is a personal God and how God communicates with all of us in our spiritual journey in very unique and beautiful and personal ways. So it's actually the morning of the day I'm going to post this. It's bright and early, and I just wanted to make sure that I was engaging with this community and upholding the energy that is starting to flow again on this YouTube page. But I myself am moving through so much shift and change internally, and as I know many of you might be, it's a very uncomfortable experience. It's a very, we just give way to God to allow us to die in ways internally so that we may be reborn in truth. We may find our revelation, we may be brought to a deeper level of God within the body, with self within the body, and with the wholeness of why we're here on this planet. So yeah, that's my experience right now. But I had this realization that with all of this religion, with all of this, the politics of spirituality and such, I have had an extremely personal experience with God when I was at my lowest low. And I remember that God reached out to me and spoke to me in a way that only I could understand because of what I knew so far in my spiritual experience. And this slashes through all of the politics of religion and spirituality and all the things that keep us apart from God and keep us apart from each other. And I myself find that when I start to study something, I like to go all in. Like, I really like to take a break from everything else and really just focus on this thing. But that can have faults because a lot of religions are pitted up against each other with this is true and that's false, or you should do this and do not do that. And a lot of things in the world are that way. But with this experience that I remembered I had at the very beginning of my spiritual awakening, it was so deeply personal, and I'm going to tell you guys what happened. But first I want to read this Bible verse, Psalms. Bible verse, Psalm 73, 23, 26. And it says, "Nevertheless, I am continually with you. You guide me with your counsel, and afterward you will receive me with your glory. Whom have I in heaven but you? And there's nothing on earth that I desire but you. And my flesh and heart may fall, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever." And this really just gives me chills and makes me emotional. Not only because I'm on my period, but also because it's just about the guidance that God provides us personally, holding our hand, seeing you when we pray or when we meditate or when we do healing work. We are connecting on a very incredibly personal level with God, with our Creator. And God knows us inside and out. Whether or not we know ourselves inside and out, God knows you inside and out. And that, again, people believe that God is impersonal, that God is just like this, deity in the sky and casting out all these desires and calling us sinners and all of this stuff. But God is an incredibly personal God, in my opinion, and in my experience over and over and over again. God is a very deeply personal God. The way that God will come to you is deeply personal. I always refer to God as a man because that's just where I guess I need to see God as a man right now, or that's my medicine. But God is genderless, obviously. But God, when he reaches out to you, he knows what you need. He knows what you need to hear and what you don't need to hear, and what will translate for you and what wouldn't translate for you. And so when I had my spiritual awakening, I was in this crazy, almost psychosis, where I was just stuck in bed. I couldn't leave my bed. I was having so many trigger warning panic attacks, and I just couldn't get out of bed. I was stuck there, and it was endless, and it was horrible. And if you want to hear more on that, I just did a podcast with Alex Troniak explaining my full awakening story, and I'll link that down below if you're curious. But essentially, I was just at my lowest low. I basically felt like I was about to die. Like I couldn't leave bed. Like I couldn't think about anything. The pain and the suffering and the anxiety and the terror was incessant, and it was because of how my spiritual awakening happened, which again, please go watch that podcast if you want to know why that was happening. But it was happening, and I just remember I pleaded with God. I prayed and pleaded with God, please, like, what is going on? I don't think I'm gonna make it through this. I don't know what to do. And God reached out to me in such a personal way. I remember I was having a panic attack and I was in bed for like a month, and it was at night, and it was probably like midnight. And all of a sudden, the loudest sound vibrated or reverberated all around me, and it was Om. And it went on for like 2 minutes, this Om, and it was so deep and it was so profoundly engulfing. It was all I could hear, and it jolted me. Like I sat up in bed and I was like, where is that coming from? But there was no source. It was midnight, my family was asleep, and this Om was so loud. And I just sat in it, and I knew I was just supposed to sit in it. And guys, like after that happened, I pretty much like started reading books, spiritual books, like books about chakras, books about where that sound was taking me, where that sound was like guiding me. And that sound was God showing up for me when I pleaded and prayed, like I'm dying, like I can't get out of bed, like I'm having so much pain. And it was because I was having my spiritual awakening. It was because I had struggled with anxiety and depression all of my childhood, all of my teen years. And it was coming to a climax, a pinnacle point where God was like, this is done. This is done. And this is the gateway. And why is this personal? Because my mom had always been Buddhist. My dad was kind of more Christian, my mom was more Buddhist. And I never grew up going to church. I never grew up meditating, but I knew about Buddhism, and I knew about the Om, and I knew about what it meant. And because God is a personal God, he wasn't like, flying aliens into my window. He wasn't like, having other things that maybe would resonate with other people happen to me. He was guiding me with something that he knew I was familiar with, because that was how he could communicate with me and bring me back to my center. And that was such a personal experience, and it changed my life forever. And I remember I held on to that sound for so long, for like 2 or 3 years. I was like practicing the exact Om sound, and that was God. And so God is a very personal God. And I think that it's easy to get caught up in politics of like religion and spirituality and doing things the right way and being perfect and, being right or being wrong and the black and whites. But the truth is that like God transcends all of that. Like, let's be honest, God transcends all of that. When God reached out to me, it was through the Om, which is Buddhist. It wasn't through Archangel Michael, or through, Christ. Although these beings do show up for other people when they resonate with them, So yeah, that's all I wanted to share today, guys, is that God is a personal God, and God will communicate with you in a way that only you can understand. And that's the beauty of creating a connection with God, is that God's not going to show up when we're not ready for him. God's not going to show up when we're, seeking solitude. God's not going to show up when we're not believing in him. God is a personal God, and he's going to provide us what we need and how we see it, and what, how he can get the message across to us, because he loves us that much. He sees us that much. That's why I love this Psalms verse, because He's holding our hand. We're holding his hand. He's guiding us. We're walking with him. And it's just this love. It's just this love and this child and father-like love. And so I hope you guys have a beautiful day, a beautiful Monday, beautiful week. Set your intentions for the week. Like, how do you want to feel? How do you want to act? How do you want to move? What are you birthing? It's spring. We did the spring equinox now, so we're officially in spring. So honor that, honor your bodies, and I will see you guys next time. And if you liked this, please give it a big thumbs up. It's super helpful. And also comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.